Optics surrounding Bioware continue to worsen, ladies and gentlemen. Dragon Age Dreadwolf is currently in development, but that project has undergone a number of reboots, and a number of veteran developers have left throughout the years. And then most recently, on August 23rd, 2023, we saw this update from Bioware where it was reported that 50 roles at Bioware have been eliminated, and while some of them will be transferred to other departments within EA, there were those who were impacted and laid off completely. And so in this update about the studio itself, it was outlined that in order to meet the needs of our upcoming projects, we must shift towards a more agile and more focused studio. It'll allow our developers to iterate quickly, unlock more creativity, and form a clear vision. This change is not only necessary, but unavoidable, which also means reorganizing our team to match the studio's changing needs. And they insisted right here that the process of all of this will be handled with empathy, respect, and clear communication. They assured that development for Dragon Age Dreadwolf is well underway, and that they are going to work on a new Mass Effect game. And in the process of shuffling 50 developers around or laying them off entirely, they said they're committed to supporting our staff as they navigate the change. And they promise that this is all about ensuring a brighter future for Bioware and its IPs as a whole. But then you look at some of the developers that they laid off, and it makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't paint a picture of a brighter future for Bioware when writers like Mary Kirby, who's been with Dragon Age from the beginning and who is a staple writer of the Dragon Age series, put out this tweet saying that she was laid off. PC Gamer reported on this. The Bioware layoffs include the writer responsible for Dragon Age's best character, Mary Kirby. She is the one who wrote, who many consider to be essentially Dragon Age's mascot in many regards. Started at Bioware all the way back in 2006, writing for the beloved Dragon Age Origins, stuck with Dragon Age series throughout her entire time at the company. And among her most well-known contributions was the creation of Varric Tethras, who is a character that is beloved among Dragon Age fans. Another veteran who was let go was technical director John Renish, who announced on Twitter that he'd been affected by the layoffs after 8 years at Bioware working on both the ill-fated Anthem and Dragon Age. And to make matters worse, one of Bioware's OGs, the original Baldur's Gate's lead writer, was laid off. This is Lucas Christensen, who David Gator, former lead writer for Dragon Age, tweeted out about this, saying that he's stunned to learn that Bioware also let go of Lucas Christensen. We used to call him Old Man Luke and Writer Alpha. There since Baldur's Gate 1, the writer behind Minsk and Joker and so many more, one of Bio's longest-serving employees. People looking from the outside in are struggling to understand how laying off such key developers will pave the road to a development studio that will iterate more quickly, unlock more creativity, and form a clear vision. People don't understand how this was unavoidable. They don't understand how this will help preserve the health of the studio over the long term. They don't understand how any of these changes will build a brighter future for Bioware, casting doubt on Bioware's reasoning for why these layoffs had to happen, leading to the speculation that EA let go of anyone who's been at Bioware long enough to make more than a mid-level salary as a cost-cutting measure. David Gator responded saying that I can't think of any other reason to let go of so much senior-level talent. All of this paired with reports that Dragon Age Dreadwolf keeps getting delayed internally, and it just doesn't paint a bright picture for this game or for the future of Bioware. Combine that with reports that Dragon Age Dreadwolf keeps getting delayed internally, and none of this paints a positive picture for Bioware as a studio in its current state or its future, and it certainly doesn't make people feel optimistic about the launch of Dragon Age Dreadwolf. And now there's a new development that's casting doubt on Bioware's commitment on handling the whole process involving laying off staff or shifting them around EA with empathy, respect, and clear communication, that they're committed to supporting our staff as they navigate this change. Given that, as reported by Games Industry here on October 4th, 2023, former Bioware employees sue for better severance after layoffs. 7 plaintiffs are requesting fair pay plus damages for unreasonably poor treatment. This is indeed as part of that layoff where 50 staff members from Bioware were dismissed due to the studio's changing needs. Now, 7 of those affected have filed a statement of claim with Alberta's Court of King's Bench, claiming Bioware's severance offer was too low. For those who don't know, Bioware Edmonton is based in Edmonton, Alberta. And in Alberta, most cases of termination without cause award those affected with at least 1 month of severance pay for each year they worked at the company, plus the full value of all benefits included. That's how it's supposed to be, but based on what the 7 employees who are suing Bioware are reporting, the severance that they received was far lower than that standard. The ex-Bioware group, which has an average of 14 years at Bioware for each member, claim that they were offered significantly less than this amount. And this goes to highlight just how many of the laid off developers from within Bioware were veterans, people who have been at the company for years and years, whose talent are invaluable, lending credence to speculation that one of EA's current cost-cutting measures is to lay off anybody who is making more than mid-level salary. The speculation is that they're laying off veterans because they have so much experience in the field that they have to get paid more for the talent and work that they offer, thereby diluting the experience level of Bioware and potentially making it just an all-around worse studio for the long term, with talent not being able to match what Bioware was able to pull off before, because the veteran talent just isn't there anymore. Bioware is just being hollowed out, it feels like, and they're being cheap with the kind of talent that is at the studio, or at least that's what people presume when we see layoffs of such key developers who can contribute so much to the quality of many aspects and facets of the games that Bioware makes. Some of the former developers tried to negotiate with Bioware, but the studio reportedly refused to increase its severance amount. I don't know if this was Bioware's decision specifically, or if Bioware's hands were tied by EA and their executive decisions, but whatever the case, assuming this report is true, that's incredibly scummy, and I'm very curious to see how this court case will play out, especially given that under the plaintiff's legal counsel, R. Alex Kennedy, he suggests that Bioware may have included illegal provisions in its contracts, stating, quote, "There are many situations where employees include termination provisions that are not enforced by the courts, and I think we see that in this case too. Bioware attempted to reduce its obligation to these employees well below what the courts typically award, including by eliminating benefits from its termination pay. That appears to be contrary to the Employment Standards Code. The contract is something that Bioware may not be able to enforce legally, and that's kind of what's being called into question. That's a big part of what the court case will deal with, in the hopes that these laid off employees will get the severance package that they deserve." Kennedy continues, "These people are artists and creators who have worked very hard and for a very long time in a difficult industry, producing big profits for their employer. Their termination without cause en masse like this calls for a response. Employers here can terminate anyone at any time without cause, but with that right comes a responsibility to the people they put in that situation." And then here we have a quote from one of the 7 plaintiffs who spoke out about the situation and how frustrating this all is, stating, "In light of the numerous recent industry layoffs and the fact that Bioware's NDAs prevent us from showing any of our recent work on Dragon Age Dreadwolf in our portfolios, we're very concerned about the difficulty many of us will have finding work as the holiday season approaches." So not only is Bioware not giving these now laid off employees the proper level of severance that they deserve based on the amount of experience that they have as developers and the number of years that they dedicated to Bioware, money that they need for financial support as they transition from a lack of employment to finding an employer who will hire them, Bioware is also not allowing these employees to use their work from Dragon Age Dreadwolf to try to promote themselves and to try to find employment. So that puts these employees in a less than ideal financial situation and makes their employment prospects significantly worse, which doesn't fall in line with Bioware's claim that this process is being handled with empathy, respect, and clear communication. This doesn't sound like a company who is supporting their staff as they navigate this change. The plaintiff who spoke out continues, "While we remain supportive of the game we worked so hard on and of our colleagues continuing that work, we are struggling to understand why Bioware is shortchanging us in this challenging time. It's greed, plain and simple. Just the fact that the average number of years that laid off developers worked at Bioware for is 14 years. The fact that so many of these layoffs encompass decades-long veterans goes to show that it's all about trying to make it cheaper to develop games while reducing the talent level because they're prioritizing profits over the brighter future of a studio and its games. And even with Severance, which is dependent on how many years you work at a studio, they're trying to cheapen out on that as well as just cost-cutting measures. You've already seen how much the quality of Bioware games have slowly degraded over time after the departure of key figures, and especially with EA's corporate influence seeping in. And that's only bound to get worse as more and more veteran staff keep leaving or are laid off, and as EA continue to cheapen on the talent at Bioware just for the sake of short-term monetary gains without thinking about the long-term ramifications of what this will do to a once gold standard studio like Bioware. Now, I don't know what the quality of Dragon Age Dreadwolf will be like despite these layoffs, but all I know is that this feels like deja vu. We're seeing a similar kind of struggle as was reported about Anthem's development and Mass Effect Andromeda's development, the constant reboots and the constant shifts in vision, the layoffs or the departures of key veteran and creatives who helped shape these IPs, as more of these key figures depart and we're only left with talent that's still kind of new and fresh and green, who are nowhere near as experienced and who are still getting their bearings, I get the bad feeling that Bioware's quality is only going to go down the drain further, or it's going to slow down development, or it's just going to make development more of a pain in the ass. I don't think these are moves that pave the road to iterating more quickly, unlocking more creativity, and forming a clear vision. I think all this is going to do is just further rupture a studio that feels like it's slowly but surely falling apart. Though I hope that the current talent at Bioware can prove me wrong. I'm not saying there isn't any talent at the studio. What I am saying is that experience matters. No matter how talented you are, just going through the gauntlet that is game development and having done that multiple times and having seen how an IP is developed and how it has evolved over the course of many years and generations, like having that kind of experience and knowledge and wisdom is hugely helpful in being able to optimize game development cycles and being able to guide the ship towards the proper direction. And with more and more of that wisdom getting lost, I get the sense that all of this is going to mar the future of the studio. A studio that's already on thin ice. If Dragon Age Dreadwolf bombs, then I don't know if I can say there's any hope for Bioware. They've already struck twice with, Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem, which was a huge disaster. I hope that's not the case with Dragon Age Dreadwolf, but, this is just not something that makes me optimistic. This is not something that tells me Bioware can make a comeback. This just feels like a downward spiral. But, this is all just speculation and pessimism and worries on my end. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the current state of Bioware. Do you agree with the sentiments that I have, or do you think there's hope yet for Bioware? And are you looking forward to Dragon Age Dreadwolf? Do you think it has a chance to turn out really good? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.